Hello everyone, today I will go through every Enneacraft card and tell you how to win the matchup with whatever deck are you playing. To start, there are some common effects among Enneacraft cards. Every pendulum has the common effect that each time a monster is flipped face up, you can place one Enneacraft counter on the card. These can be later used from their field spell, using each counters to burn you for 900 damage. 5 counters means 4500 damage dealt to you. These add up so easily, so you need to be aware of that. Also, all the monsters share the effect that you can reveal themselves and then set another Enneacraft on the board face down, so your opponent doesn't know the monster that they're setting. There are some situations that I will explain later that you understand what monster they're setting even for you not seeing it. A pro tip here is when they show you the monster, you are allowed to read it. So when your opponents show you the monster, read the card. There is no point not reading the card. The texts are big and it's hard to remember everything. I like to divide the deck into searchers and poppers. The searchers are the small Enneacraft monsters. They all share the same effect of paying 900 life points, reveal 3 Enneacraft cards, then your opponent chooses one randomly, the other 2 go shuffle back to the deck. Most of the times, what the Enneacraft players do is show you 3 of the same card, so you know what they have added. You can read the reveal cards before them adding. If they reveal 3 times the same card, just read the card. Again, there is no point not reading the card. It's no slow playing, it's just you reading the cards. If you don't spend much time into reading the cards, it should be fine. You have enough time to play the game. Most of the times, they start their turn by placing this and start searching. Sometimes ashing the first thing you see, it's good. What I like to do is waiting for one of their spell cards to be activated. I will show you later which one. And then ash that spell. A good tip here again is if you are going first, you can keep your Fallen in the Virtues, your MST or anything that pops a card when they activate the effect and pay the cost of 900 life points. Then you can pop the card and they will not get their search. There are 2 cases that they will set a monster first and then activate the effects. If they set a monster first and then activate the effect, you need to think about the monsters that they can have set, and then if you are willing to take the gamble of trying to pop one of these. Another common thing that all the small Enneacraft monsters have is that when they are flipped from their effect, they can all add one Enneacraft card from their deck to hand. So these are the big monsters, the poppers. These just share the effect of at the end of the battle phase, if you have another Enneacraft pendulum in the other zone, you can pop one monster that has less attack than this card. Pretty simple. So the Enneacraft strategy has 4 spells. We'll go in later into it, reading them card by card, then discussing what you can do. Because of the nature of the deck, Enneacraft doesn't need an extra deck, not a normal summon, not even their graveyard. They can play super poly with whatever targets they want. Most of them are playing Shifter and Diffuser. Like this deck loses to draw so hard. Having Shifter or Diffuser allows them to play through draw. Of course, they can play the Vanities cards because they don't normal summon, they will just liquid summon for the Vanities. And some people are playing Daruma Cannon. This is really good against some link strategies that you can just flip it, all the links go to the graveyard, or even beat towers like the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. So let's go to the first monster, Dromaria. What I like to do is I like to read the effect, the second line, and then the flip. Dromaria says when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that special summon a monster, quick effect, you can change this face down card to face up defense position, add one Enneacraft deck from your deck to your hand. The flip effect is negate the effects on one effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. This is a mandatory effect. The mandatory effects go before optional triggers. So if you have a Fallen of White, for example, this is effect to summon from hand. This can trigger flip face up. Fallen of the White comes into the field, and then it's Chainlink 1, Dromaria, even if it's your turn, because this is a mandatory effect. And Albaz, it's an optional trigger. They will go Chainlink 1 to negate your Albaz, chain 2. Albaz, summon Ecclesia, and then they can negate the effects of either Albaz or Ecclesia. Let's go to another card, Exapatisia. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that sets a card, you can change this, you can flip this card basically, then you destroy one spell trap your opponent controls, and if you do, special summon one master from your hand in face down defense position. So these can be triggered like at the end of your turn on your Albion. They will flip this because of Albion having the effect to set. Then they will try to destroy one spell trap your opponent control. So when you activate your Albion and they chain this on top of your Albion, don't set your Fallen in the Virtues. Have it in your hand, and then you can use your Fallen in the Virtues to destroy this card. Alazonia reads when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect to add cards from the deck to the hand. You can flip this card, basically banish one random card face up from your opponent's hand. So this one is pretty simple. When your opponent activates a master in hand, it flips, it search, and then it has a mandatory effect to destroy one master your opponent controls. Ocarina reads when your opponent activates a card effect in the graveyard of banishment, flip it, add one card again, and it has the mandatory effect to shuffle 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard or banishment into their deck. So let's say you have Albion, Ecclesia, and Cartesia. You need to choose which one you want into your hand, because let's say you activate Albion, then most probably your Ecclesia and Cartesia will go back to the deck and not into your hand. So you need to think which is the best grave effect that you want to activate and activate it first. The first big monster. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets cards you control, you can flip this card, negate that effect, then you can banish face down one random card your opponent controls. So the thing I was talking before is that if they are going second and they set a monster and then they activate a small one to go into the pendulum zone, they activate the effect, pay 900, then you need to think about it. Is this Astapixia? If yes, do I have Droplet? Do I have something to negate it? If not, I lose my Fallen in the Virtues, my MST, my whatever, and then lose one card from my hand. And then this has the second effect. After this card was flipped face up, while it in the main master zone, your opponent cannot target cards in the field or graveyard with card effects. You need to think, is it worth to risk me trying to deny one search for me not being able to target a monster? If the situation is yes, go and gamble it. Atorimar, the whale. So the whale says during your turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect on the field, you can flip this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And then you have the flip effect. It's a mandatory effect. Change all your opponent's monsters to face down defense position. The monsters that were cannot change their battle position. So if you activate something into their turn, again, you need to think, is it worth for me losing my card and having everything that's face up stay face down? Most of the time it's not. So good not to play too much into the Enneacraft player's turn and wait for your turn. Cool tips about this card is that if you can fusion monsters don't care if the monsters are face down. So you can use your fusion spells to fuse your monsters. If you can banish this card, like with a Mirror Jade, it will not activate its effect. There are some ways to play around, but you need to remember, if you attack into this and this flip, and this flips, then it happens in the damage step. So all of your monsters will change their battle positions. So if you don't have something that negates the activation, you just Book of Moon your whole board forever. The Spider card, one of their newest cards, which says when your opponent activates a card or effect as a chain link 3 or higher, you can change this face down card to face up defense position, negate the activation of your opponent's cards and the effects activated before this card in this chain. And if you do, destroy them. And then it has, after this card was flipped face up, while in the master zone, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect in response to their card or effect activation. So let's say you're a Kultum player, you do your shenanigans, you go more than Channeling 3. It's easy to go more than Channeling 3 because let's say Channeling 1, they respond with something, and then you want to respond on their response, that's Channeling 3, so you lose 2 cards by doing nothing. And then when you are trying to synchro and get your synchro effects, you will not be able to do all of your triggers, to change your triggers. So then you'll need to think which trigger you want, or the easiest solution is just don't go chain 3 or higher. Just play until channeling 2 and then stop. Then they will never be able to flip this card. Leon reads, when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your card or effect activation, you can change this face down card to face up, return up to 3 cards from the field to the hand. In the same situation that they placed one of the searchers, they set this card, they try to activate one of the searchers, and you try to pop the searchers. They can change this, bounce 3 cards from your field. I think 3 cards are enough for them to stop you playing into their turn. The lesson is, if they have a set monster and they try to do the search, don't change. And they are trying to do the search, don't change anything. Let's go into tail. It says when your opponent activates a card or effect that will destroy a card on the field, you can change this face down to face up defense position. Monsters and Enneacraft spells you control cannot be destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn. Again, same situation as before. If they set something and then activate the searchers, do not try to pop the searchers. And then it has the effect after this card is flip face up, while in the main master zone, each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, they take 900 damage. So this with the field spell is so easy to burn you. This was the final monster. Let's go into the spells. So release, pretty simple. Place one Enneacraft Pendulum monster from your deck in your pendulum zone. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it. Add one face-up Enneacraft monster from your extra deck to your hand. And you can only activate one Enneacraft release per turn. So basically this will do is place one of the searchers and then they try to search the pieces that they're missing. Let's go to reverse, the card that I like to ash. This card reads, shuffle any number of Enneacraft monster cards from your hand and or face up on the field into the deck or extra deck, then draw cards equal to the number shuffled. So here, all of the effects of the monsters, then they try to get a new hand so they can set them. So if you rush this, they cannot do the mulligan and set their monsters. If your opponent normal, so special summons a monster while these cards in your graveyard except damage step, you can do one of these effects. Special summon one Enneacraft monster from your hand in face down defense position. Change one face down defense position Enneacraft monsters you control to face up defense position. So what they will do most of the times is that they will just flip the whale and then the whale will flip all of your monsters. So you need to be careful not to overextend if they have a rebirth in the grave. Let's go to reset. Reset reads, place one Enneapolis from your deck or graveyard face up in your field zone. Or if you control Enneapolis, you can negate the effects of face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of cards in your pendulum zones instead. So this is a negate as well. I never saw someone doing the negate effect, but it's good to know if they have Enneapolis, maybe they can negate the effects of face-up cards you control. If your opponent activates a card or effect while this card is in your graveyard, except damage step, you can banish this card, change Enneacraft monster you control to face down defense position up to the number of cards in your pendulum zones. You can only activate one reset per turn. You need to remember that flip effects are not once per turn. They can use them multiple times. Again, reset in the grave. You see what is face up. Do you want it to go face down again? You need to make these thoughts while you are playing. Because if you let them do their effects over and over again, then you lose by yourself. So when Enneapolis is a field spell, once per turn during the end phase, remove all Enneacraft counters from the field, and if you do, your opponent takes 900 damage for each. You can only use each of the following effects of Enneapolis. Once per turn, you can target any number of Enneacraft Pendulum Monsters cards you control, return them to the hand, If an Enneacraft pendulum monster you control is flipped face up during the main phase, you can choose one of them and either return into the hand or place it in the pendulum zone. Basically, the first effect is to burn your opponent. So with the help of Scorpion and everything, it's so easy to burn your life points. So when you're going into the grind game, you need either to pop this card without triggering anything or be careful of your life points. What I like to do is when I know they don't have any of the target or pop protection, is when any Abolist triggers and then they lose their counters, I will pop it, because you remove all the counters. Then this tries to resolve, you pop this. This is a mandatory effect, by the way. And then they don't burn you. Let's go to the second effect. So what they like to do is that they use their effects and then they use the effect of Enneapolis to take them back to the hand. So they will use the pendulums, the small one, the searchers. They will search everything and then they will get them back to the hand, reveal them, set, reveal, set, and then they have them for your turn. But now you know what cards they had. And when they activate the effect and they try to get their monsters back, you can tell them, oh, give me a second, I will delete the cards, I get them back to the hand. So now you have information of what is said in the field. The last effect is, it's pretty useful, but it's not used that much. In the main phase, they can, like what they do most of the times is that you trigger something into their main phase, they take the monster back and set it, and they have the effect for the next turn. But now, again, you have information, you know what their cards are doing, so you are trying to play around them. Always try to figure out a way to play around it, because you see the cards that they're playing. They have like 10 monsters. With simple effects, you can read most of them while you are playing. It's a pretty easy to maneuver around them. This was the video. I hope you learned something. I hope you liked it. If you like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you like the video, and catch you in the next one. Bye.